Okay, welcome, sir. I just had to log in again. So let me go back and share my screen. Okay, so when I flexed, my first element came down, you know. All right, so let me go back to the browser and take a look at what exactly happened. Okay, yeah, so these elements actually move to the next line. And let me inspect and see where these elements actually belong to. All right, so yes, this div is actually supposed to flex both elements. If we flex this div, that's the question. So I can see that this image is taking this particular space and this guy is down. So this div over here is not flexed. All right, so we need to go and flex this parent for these two divs. So we'll flex this guy so that it will flex these two divs. So let's go back to our code. All right, this div, that's this one. Give an ID to the div, and this ID is going to be called left menu. Separate this to type in left menu. So go back to my CSS. On the ID, hash symbol, left menu. We display it as flex. Display flex. See, that's all we need. That's all we need, just to flex it. Let's go back to browser and check it out now. Fantastic. So you can see that this parent has two children. And you can see that from here, the arrows still point down here. So it means these two guys are siblings. You can see siblings stay side by side. All right, so if you want to flex these two siblings, you use the parents to flex them. When you use inspect elements, it will help you a lot. So right now we only have, this is for the nav in the body. So the body is a parent and it has a single child called nav. So in that nav, we have two child elements, two children, and each of the child has two child elements. This one has two child elements. So this is the direct parent. You flex the direct parent so that the children can stay side by side rather than sitting underneath each other. So you open this, you find images. The first div has its two children. All right. We didn't flex them because by default, they are flexed, they stay side by side. Then we move to the next child. The next child has a UL element, and the UL element has child element. We flex it, as you can see from here, flex. So this is a parent element that is flexing 5 child elements. So then we move to the other direct parent again that has UL element that is flexing. And then each of them have this, see, flexed. So let me close this. So congratulations, you can now work for CNN, work with them and tell them you can redesign you can help to design their Navbar for them. So they have their UI designer working for them now. So what is it doing that you cannot do now? All right. I don't know if you have any question to ask so that I can move on. I just want to do some few things. 10 minutes, I'll be done. Any questions, sir?
No, sir, not for now.
Okay, these things look easy. When you start doing them, look a bit technical. So now take a look at this. Look at this entire row. You understand that all these are li tags. Li tags that have been flexed. You see them, li tag, flex. This one is another one again. You can see this one's another flex element. But today I'm going to show you something that I just hope you will always remember. If you look at the navbar, you can see it's not moving anywhere. It's sticky to the top. The navbar doesn't move anywhere. It's just stick to the top. And that is one thing about becoming a pro. When you are working, you can do these things exactly the way it is. You understand? So how do we make our navbar sit at the top like this? There is a CSS property you can use for this. Let's go to our code. By the way, I'm now open, fully ready to throw out my CV and go out for a job now. I've not been pushing so much about students, lessons, and all that. I think I need real money. So, and I also need to showcase my skill to the world. So I need to put some other things together so that companies abroad, they ask me questions, what product have you made? I'll be able to share what I've done in an organization with them, and I can get very good reference from there. Okay, so I always like challenging stuff. You know, coding is very interesting, and I like it because it's like playing video game. You always want to make sure you win a particular battle. That's just it. So that is how it is in coding. You know what I mean? But you've been trying to meet up, you've been trying to do some projects. You understand what I'm saying? So now let's make that header fixed. The main black box sticks to the top, and it is this nav. All right, it is this nav. And this nav has a parent. It's quite dicey. It's quite dicey. It's technical. You know, we need to break the default styling pattern to do this. That means all those margin left, margin right, all those default styling you use will no longer work if you change the pattern. So in that case, it's better to put our navigation, our nav in a div, because if I want to do that, I'll have to issue that command to the body, because this nav sits directly under the body from the inspect elements. This is the only thing that sits under the body directly from here. So this is the first parent. So if I want to bring in a new command that will no longer obey the default styling pattern, where you will no longer be able to use also all those margin left and margin right, maybe I should create a div, give the div an ID, then let that div serve as a parent rather than the body. All right, rather than the body. Okay, but let me go through the body first so that you can see what I'm saying. Since the body is a name that we all that the computer understands, so all we have to do is just say body. You have to first set the body position to absolute. Body position. Body position. We have to set, this is a CSS attribute, which means we are resetting the positioning system of our body to absolute. That means we are breaking the rules. We want to take over the positioning ourselves. So position absolute, and then I still need to go back and create a div because I don't want to touch this styling pattern. All this styling here can be affected. So I still need to go back to my body to create a div. And this div is going to hold everything in the nav. So this div is going to hold everything in the nav. I'm going to push all these ones forward.
I have two questions. Hello?
Are you saying something, sir? So you can see I'm tracing the lines.
I have two questions.
Okay, two questions. Okay, just come in, sir. All right, go ahead with your question, sir.
Okay.
I mean, can I hear your question, sir? I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. I was asking this part. Yeah, this part where we have a UL tag.
Okay.
That's a world, US politics, health, business, and more. Is it not possible to use a div tag for that part?
Yes, it's possible. If you use the div tag,
Just asking,
if you use the div tag, you'll be using p tag, p tag, p tag.
can div tag work?
Yes, div tag can work, but it won't be professional enough for you to use that div tag, because you can use div tag to wrap the UL, but UL is more, is a list. Those things are lists. Menu is a list. Those menu items, they are list item. But p tag is paragraph tag. It's used to type a very long text. Div is a box that helps you to create the box where the elements can sit. So if you create the box, what are you going to put inside? Are you going to use UL, p tag? You cannot be using h1 tags, so just try to understand the UL so that anything that has to do with lists, where you have to go through lists before you go to their content, or you want to see long list of items, use UL or LI, UL or OL, rather than using div. You can use div to do separations for box to box, box to box. It's just div is for box size, box modeling pattern, just to make elements respond to positions. But div will work. If you use div, but don't be using div. Div here, div here, div here, div here,
Okay,
div here.
okay.
Sir?
Okay, fine. Sorry, can you scroll up? Can you scroll up a little?
Okay.
Okay, I think it's on the CSS page. The second question, I'm trying to. Yes, justify content, space between. What does it do?
Justifies content space between is what separates the two elements that you have flexed. It will push one to stay on the left, push the other one to stay on the right. It will create a spacing between them, 50-50 spacing. It's like margin 50 for the right, margin 50 for the left. It's just to give a huge spacing between elements so that the elements can be free and it will not look like they are squeezed together. So,
Okay, in this case now, what is this space? Is it the audio?
with this space, no, it's this space, this space, this space. If you use this, like this ones now, justify, if you use justify content here, it will give them equal spacing like this. Instead of adding margin right, margin left, justify content will give all of them spacing that will match all their spaces. It will automatically calculate if the space is 100, if you are using 100px, or you are using 120px, and you have 3 elements in that 120px, it means that it will divide 120 by 3 and then apportion a space of 40-40 in between the 3 elements, so that each of them will have a space of 40-40-40px in their own boxes. So justify element space between, we'll just calculate the spacing, divide it, and say you take 50% space, you take 50% space. Do you understand?
Yeah, it's fine. It's okay.
But you can't get it at once like this. You just move as you keep, you do your, on your next project, look for things that has to do with flex so that you get used to justify content, because you need to know justify content space within, justify content stretch, but justify content center. Then we have to do with alignment, align content center, align content left and right. You are working with flex now. You are working with flex, and flex here is everything. You understand? All these elements, this, look at this spacing. If you have margin, we have grid. We've not started treating grid. All these ones now, they just set the page to grid, but you can flex them. These are 3 divs, div 1, div 2, div 3. All right, justify content, space between. It will apply all these spaces to them, these spaces. All right, because when you justify, when you flex, you will not get spaces like this. But by the time you flex it and you say justify content space between, the space between these elements is too small because this image is already taking this width. This one is taking a smaller space and this one here. So if they are joined and there is a little space here, justify content space between, we'll just move this space, share it between the 2 elements so that they will have spacing. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
That's right. It's okay.
So that is what just by content to do. It's almost 10. Let me just do that last one. Then I'll still push the video for you to watch. So we position this absolutes and we give this new div that we created. This div will have an ID called main. That is the main div that wrap everything here. So we'll give this div, since this nav is black, we'll give the overall color to be black as well, because the child is black, the nav is black background already. So let's just call main here, hash symbol main. Please rewatch the video. You need to rewatch this video again and again. As we are designing or creating things, you know how I've got to do some things. So main, we now have a background color. We don't want the color to be different. When there is a movement, you will know. So black. All right, so this div is not flexing anything. We just want to set the position to be fixed. Fixed, that means be fixed at the top. Just stay fixed. We've set the background position of our body to be absolute. Then we set the position of this main div fixed. Stay in a particular position, do not move. That is what we've done. You understand? If you don't set the background position, if you don't destroy the initial default positioning of the background, position fixed will not work. So we set the position to be absolute, and then we set this main to be what? Fixed. There are different type of positioning. We can start positioning different elements in our body. There are a lot of position styling that we can use. You know, I'll teach you those ones as time goes by. So, oh, sorry, I didn't change my, I wasn't showing you my code.
Yeah.
Let me, so I've added background color to this. This is what I created. Our HTML div, I've now given it a main. So I've gone to CSS here and I create the main. I give it the background color black. Then I set position fixed. All right. So what this means is that in my browser, I've now created, there is a box here. This is the nav box, right? I've now created a div, which is a box, a very long box to the end that is now wrapping this entire nav. And I've given it background color of black. And I said that box is going to be fixed. It's not going to move from its current position. All right, so I'll refresh. You can see that my default styling for the nav has changed and my div has changed, because by default, whenever you create div, it spans to the end. It's stretched to the end. All right, but now it's not the same. You can see, so the body is not in command of this guy anymore because his body is absolutely on its own. And this, you have to tell this guy to stretch to the end. So in that case, I'll have to give my div a width 100%, which means take the entire width of my body. Okay, this is a little bit, I know can be a little bit technical. I should have done this in another class. But if you have this video with you, it's better now. It's better now. I know we have a lot, but this one is just something, if you can just, it's good you know these things for your UI design skill. So body, main. So our main will have a width. Now we'll design our width for this our div. Let's give it 100%, which means take 100% of the body's width. 100% of our body, which is the direct parent, and then refresh it. So we're back to normal, previous position. That's all. That's all we have done. But you see, you can't see anything here. You won't know it's fixed until we insert let's insert a very large image into our HTML. Do I have any? Okay. Yes, the hamburger menu. No. I wanted something that is large. Maybe I will need to get a very large image and bring it into this project so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. Can I do that? Let me see if I can bring an image into this project. Downloads. See, I have a very large image. Okay, let me paste an image inside our project. Just give me a few minutes. Second. 10 seconds. All right. Okay, so I have a new image here called leaf.png. So all these ones, all these things here, they are for the navigation bar at the top, menu, just only menu. So I don't need to go there. Now I need to go to where I can create the paragraph, text, and everything. So that's why I create a separate div. All right, so the only thing I want to bring here now is an image that is very large that we need to scroll down to see. Okay, leaf.png. All right, so let's go back and refresh. All right, so that's it now. So the leaf is very large. So if we are scrolling, you can see now that the page still remains. All right, the page is not actually moving. It sticks to the top. All right. So now, but you can see there is a space at the top, little white space here. There's a little white space here. So this is top. You instead of using margin, you cannot use margin now. You'll be using default language like top, 0, top, left, this, 0, 0, all those. Like, let me show you. We have moved out of the default styling that has to do with margin. So now, if I want to add margin at the top, I'll just use top. Top, I can say 50px from the top. Give me a space from the top, 50px. All right. Then I go back. And see, I've shifted from the top. I've moved. I can now be controlling these things on my own. All right. I can position my elements wherever I want and do things. But however, I don't want any space to be at the top. So I have to set my top to 0. All right, top will be 0. Left should be 0. I don't want any spacing, but this is my navbar. Right should be 0 as well. So that's it. So let's just go back and preview. Fresh. So perfect. And that's it. So if you know how to do this, you can also do other adjustments here. So congratulations for staying this long, and you have your reward. And this code, I'm going to push it on GitHub so that you can always use it as sampling. So in our next meeting, I'll teach you, in our next class, I'll teach you GitHub so that you can be downloading some of these codes from my GitHub page. You can use them, go through your work, check it, compare it with my code, and see if it's okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We'll meet on Saturday. Yes, sir.
Okay. Bye.